I feel that I was really just sort of drawn to herbalism as soon as I can remember being alive. So I had a pretty unstable childhood, early childhood, and I feel that I was really blessed to always be around nature. However, I always had access to, most of the time, beautiful nature, if not just a little plot of earth. So I feel like being outdoors and being in nature really gave me that groundedness that I needed and wanted and was searching for, and also sort of a sense of place and friendship. I feel like I was sort of nurtured by Mother Nature and raised by Mother Nature in my early childhood a lot. So I think just being outdoors, I would pretend at a young age that I was, an orphan lost in the woods and I had to eat the wild plants to survive. And then someone would find me, and I would always have a little like hideout, like a little special space that was mine and I felt safe and that I sort of gave back to and was in relationship with. So, and then someone would find me out there eventually and be like, don't eat that. And, years later, I'd find out that all the things I intuitively gathered I could have eaten.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So similarly in school, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at age 2, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and I was bullied a lot as a child. We didn't really use that word back then, but
that's what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So similarly at school, I opted out for hanging out with plants instead of people a lot of the time. So, and just like looking for acorns that had ant eggs in them, and just sort of being a little scientist. And looking back, even throughout middle school and high school, like all the projects that we would do, I would sort of incorporate plants without really thinking about it or knowing that it was a passion of mine. But, I think in middle school we had a medieval day and I made rose petal bread, and one of my classmates reminded me of that years later and I'd forgotten about it. In high school we did a science experiment and I grew 2 plots of grass seed and was mean to one of them and kind to the other.
Wait, how are you mean to
with my words? So
with your words?
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and the one that I was kind to grew much better. So, and that was years before I ever heard of Emoto or any sort of thing like that. So that was just a concept I had come up with as a teenager. For myself. And I lived with my aunt when I was 7 to 14. She really nurtured my love of nature. And we lived in a very nice, just outdoor place with a creek and a quarry, a soapstone quarry nearby. And so I would transplant plants from other parts of the woods into my hideout and catch fish and collect fiddleheads. And she was into French cuisine, so she had Yule Gibbons' book, Stalking the Wild Asparagus, and so she would cook the fiddleheads that I brought in for me. And she showed me this book when I was about 7, and I definitely couldn't read it at the time, but I just knew it had to be the absolute coolest thing ever, this book about how to eat wild plants. So and back then, that was one of the really, there's a ton of books on wild animals, but that was really the pioneer one. So although she wasn't so nature-oriented, she did have that, was able to foster that in me and share that appreciation with me. So I don't think that I ever... I don't think I ever really knew what an herbalist was. So, later as a teenager, a hippie teenager, I was into like being all natural. So I started making like my own floral infused oils for perfume instead of perfume. And, then started studying on my own the magical side of herbs. And then as a young adult, I started researching the treatments and medicines that I had been put on for my rheumatoid arthritis. Intuitively, as a young child, you know, I felt weird about the fact that I would be given the same treatment. I was always, you know, the 10-year-old in the room amongst like 60 and 70-year-olds. And it always seemed really strange in some part of me that I was getting the same treatments that they were. And so as a young adult, I started researching the side effects of the medicines I was given. I took a new medicine and broke out in hives like immediately. So I started paying more attention to that, and then started researching the medicinal side of herbs on my own. And yeah, I don't think I ever wanted to really be an herbalist until I went to herb school and knew it was an option. I definitely at some point wanted to sort of be a witch in the woods. And
Me too.
yeah, I love the word witch. So I don't know how much I embraced that word, but I definitely wanted to be like the wise woman in the woods, you know, in, you know, sort of solitude, speaking to the animals and sort of, you know, having people like seek me out and ask me about plants and, you know, come to me out there. And I certainly did that as well. I used to but I used to hold space for full moon circles for 10 years, full moon circles. And so we did a lot of that for a long time. And then, yeah, I went to herb school and then realized like, oh, this is a thing I can do. Yeah, career path, actually.
This thing I've been doing my whole life is a thing.
Right. It's legitimate. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess that's how I got into herbalism. The long story. Yeah.